Hi, I'm Nicholeen Peck, and I teach about parenting, good communication all over the world through the lens of the principle self-government. And in this video, we're going to be talking about how subjectivism destroys a moral upbringing. So many children are being raised today by parents who are raising their children subjectively. And this actually can be really damaging to the child. So in this video, we're going to talk about what that does to the child, the relationships in the home, and actually what it does to society as well. First, let's understand subjectivism. What is subjectivism? Subjectivism is when you are making decisions or taking action based off what some other influence has fed you, okay? So you're very impressionable, meaning if you feel something coming from somebody else, then you are going to fall into that same line of thinking very easily. This usually means that you don't necessarily think for yourself. You're just following along with somebody else. An objective person, by contrast, would be a person who thinks things out for themselves, who stays in that prefrontal cortex instead of that emotional part of the brain, so that they can do the maximum amount of thinking and they make decisions consciously and deliberately. So intentional parents raise their children very different than subjective parents, and I've had other videos where I have discussed the differences there and how to maintain more of an objective parenting. In this video, though, let's discuss what the subjective parenting actually does to the child. When a parent is subjective, this means that they're usually highly emotionally charged. So whatever they want, whatever they feel is what they do. If they like it, it's good. If they don't like it, it's bad. That's what it means to be subjective. That means that you're basing all of your decisions and your right, wrong, good, bad, true, false off of your feelings or the general feelings of those people around you, which means you could be easily swayed or pressured into changing your opinion. If a parent is parenting a child in this way, then what happens is the child ends up feeling like they have to please the parent, that the whole goal in life is to please the parent. Now, while our children should want to obey parents, they should want to have a unified, very synergistic relationship with parents where the parents teach and they learn and they like each other and they talk and communicate and get along, they should not feel like they have some sort of, fear associated with pleasing the parents, or that they have a feeling like, well, my parents' future happiness is all on me. Right? So many children, especially only children, will get that feeling like, well, if my parents are upset, it must be my fault. If my parents divorced, it must be my fault. Oldest children also have a tendency to do this when the parents are putting a lot of emotional pressure on the children because they're sharing a lot of their emotions with the children in a way that really is not appropriate for a parent to share with the child. Anyway, that can be a result that happens to the child. And it's really sad, actually, because the child ends up feeling like their life really belongs to everybody else and they can't make decisions that benefit only them, but now they have to look at everybody else all of the time. Now, we don't want selfish children, so this could seem like it's a decent thing if the child is at least conscious or aware of other people, but do they have to be controlled by the emotions of the other person in order to understand the other person? No, they don't. A person can stay in their prefrontal cortex and still be caring, empathetic, understanding of somebody else, but not be controlled by that other person's emotions. Subjective parents end up creating children who are oftentimes very passive and subjective themselves. They think that their emotions then carry a greater weight in their brain processing than, say, their logical or cognitive abilities. Because they have allowed the emotions of the other person to control them, they assume that their emotions should be allowed to control other people as well. So this is a very passive way of living for the child. They're not going to feel empowered. They're going to feel always like they are subject to whatever is going on around them and that others should be subject to the way they feel. This means that there's going to be this strange hierarchy that never ends where people are constantly emotionally dominating each other and nobody really knows which end is up. This is a confusing type of existence and is not great for the children. So what do we do about that? Before we get to what we do for the child and how we change this subjective parenting, and also what is going to happen to our society either way, click that subscribe button. There are a lot of great videos on this channel that will help you be more objective in your parenting and in all of your communications, because it's all about self-government. So click subscribe now. As you can see, the child ends up feeling very lost and alone, which really does hurt the overall happiness of the child and ends up damaging the family relationships as well. So if a parent is subjective, they will hurt the family relationships. A child will not be able to learn properly if the family relationships are damaged. So let's take this then to the societal level. What happens if the child does not learn properly from the parents? If the child learns the wrong lessons, like how to be emotionally manipulative, or that everyone should bend to what they are feeling at the time. If that happens, that changes the entirety of society. We end up creating a society where everyone assumes that their feelings should be in control of everybody else. This means that we have this power struggle for dominance or absolute control that will not stop. So no matter what side of an issue you're on, whether you're on, this side politically, or this side politically, or this side ideologically, or this side ideologically, or religiously, doesn't matter what side of an issue you are on. If you are subjective, you will always feel like you have to push or force your issue on somebody else. You have to argue it out, war it out, instead of allowing the truth, like cream, to rise to the top. When a person is more objective and they're focused on looking at all the facts, they usually have a lot more patience and will allow the truth to come to the top. The problem is, societally, if we feel like emotion wins all the arguments, then we actually lose sight of truth altogether. This is super detrimental for all of society, but especially for our children, who end up lost for the majority of their lives. So I make bills, not like it's just something I do for fun, but I have written bills before to protect children and families in my home state. And as I talk to legislators there, they will say to me, Nicholeen, that's a great idea for the bill. We do need to protect children, because that is definitely exploitation of children. However, I can't sell the bill unless you give me a story. It's got to be an emotional story, and we've got to have more than one if you've got it. Oh. Okay. Well, that's how you get a bill to go, I guess. You give somebody a bunch of emotion. That's actually really sad, because what that means is we're not basing our bills on truth. We're basing our bills on subjectivity. We're basing our bills on who feels the most emotion and who can get the other people to feel a similar emotion. That's sad to me. That is so sad, but that is what has happened in our society, because we have subjectivism in our families, in our homes. We are not governing ourselves. So what is the solution? The solution is self-government. What is self-government? Self-government is being able to determine the cause and effect of any given situation and possessing a knowledge of your own behaviors so that you can control them. You also understand cause and effect as it relates to your behaviors, your thoughts. If I think this thought, I emote this way. But if I think this thought, I emote this way. Which one of those emotions is productive and which is non-productive? That's what a self-governed person does. And this self-government starts from being able to follow instructions from others. Then you can soon give yourself instruction. Then also from being able to accept no answers and criticism from others. And then being able to, over time, give yourself no answers and criticism. Correct yourself and disagree appropriately with others. So there are 4 basic skills that I teach when I teach parents how to teach their children self-government. But these 4 basic skills are not just for children. They are following instructions, accepting no answers and criticism, accepting consequences, and disagreeing appropriately. When a person learns those 4 basic skills, they are ready to apply them to themselves in a self-governed way, and that takes care of 99% of their behavioral problems that they might experience, no matter their age. I would like to share with you some tools for what you can do to be more objective in your parenting so that you can help children have better lives. So if you've enjoyed this video, then I know you'll love my next video, which is called Subjective versus Objective Parenting. Click on the link to that video now. I'll see you there.